conversations about connecting with the community, and new ways of reaching out. As I was thinking about today's Tuesday talk, last week's kind of connects, I think, because there might be some ideas out there of, oh yeah, this year we're going to try the postcards, or we've done the postcards a bunch of times, we're not doing that anymore, we're going to do something else. And it reminded me that a while back, by the way, we're starting another Tuesday talk. It's 10:01 a.m. Christina Dillabo, Director of Communications, and we've got a bunch of church communicators here. Some ladies, some pastors, and everybody's welcome. We're just talking church communications. Sometimes get into other topics that doesn't seem communications-ish, but there's always a communication spin, something that we can pick up to use and share later. So the connecting with the community, and I'll follow my own advice, looking at my notes. One of the things that we were talking about last week was about how to reach people beyond the church, especially if it's a different demographic than the majority of our membership or regular attendees. And one of the things that I remembered is that a while back I had promised to send out a media list, and I was working on getting it updated. It took a while. I mean, some of you asked for it. I sent it out, but it was an old one. And I've got my new list. So for today's Tuesday talk post meeting notes, I'm just going to send the entire list to everyone, let you guys do the work, figure out, well, if I'm in Tucson, do I really need to send something to Las Vegas? Probably not, but I don't know. What if it's some host or somebody that you're having at your church that people would fly into to see? That's your decision to make, not mine. So I'm just going to send the whole list to everybody. Have fun. Hopefully it's useful to you guys. And that opens up the idea of, so what do you send out? Where do you send out these things? It kind of ties into last week's reaching out into the community. So obviously, what I think it's obvious, but maybe it's not. This might be new for some people, that what you're going to send out to that media list, a press release or a news story, whatever, that's definitely going to be different than what you put in your postcard. It's going to be, what you put in your postcard is going to be very different than what you might put on your social media. What you put on your social media is going to be different than what you put in your church newsletter. And what you put in your church newsletter for your members to use to invite others is going to be even different as well. So remember, it's different audiences out there, so your message has to make sense for that audience. And what I think we don't always think about, I know I'm guilty of it, is I don't always think about, if I'm trying to reach this specific demographic, this age group, this whatever, am I using the right message for that group in the right place at the right time? Because that's going to be different. So at some point I'll have to dig up some new demographic studies for social media, for maybe for who's reading the, like, who gets the newspaper, the printed newspaper. Try to send that to you guys to help you, in case that might help with sending out your messages. If what you're really trying to get is a youth group together, are you going to put that in the newspaper? Probably not. But it could, if your message is something where you're actually targeting the grandparents or parents about how they can help get their grandchildren or whoever in there. But if you're actually trying to talk to the youth themselves, probably not. Message in the newspaper is probably not the best way to go. Oh, man. I don't know why I'm so out of breath today. Okay, so to let me catch up and give you guys an opportunity to share your stuff, let's do a round robin, and you can choose. You can go over the two topics that I sent today. Was about, if I remember correctly, It was about worship. Like, what did you do last year for the holiday services coming up? You know, because of COVID, I had to have been different. What did you do last year, and how are you going to do it this year? And I had a lot of other stuff in there, like, how do you stream worship? How has it evolved? How many people are involved? What's your equipment like? So it's a lot of different tidbits, but whatever bit of that gets you inspired to, like, oh, well, here's something that we can share. Feel free. Let's just do a round robin. And I'll take the first person to raise their hand to go first. And when you're done sharing, then you can pick someone else to go next, and so on. Sounds good? All right, Misty, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Misty Howick. I serve at Spirit Song Church as their pastor, and I'm in the Northwest Valley. Can you all hear me okay? Okay, excellent. I wanted to talk about marketing really quick. So we haven't ever done the postcards before, as far as I know. And so we are actually starting that. And we have two different ways of using postcards. We are doing just general EDM postcards. So that's just to the people closest by to where our church is located. And then we also are trying to single out new residents in our zip code, which extends so much farther out from our direct mail that we're doing. And then we're trying to do that twice. So we send out to new residents, and then we send them another one saying, like, hey, we haven't seen you. Did you have any questions about us? We'd love to see you at our church, kind of thing. And so then each set we do 4 times a year, and we're going to do it for a year and see what we get and see if it's worth, what we're putting into it. We have connected with some really great designers and printers, and we're really excited to be working with them. But so far, honestly, the thing that has brought more guests into our church is our sandwich boards put up and around our community. And people stop in and we ask them, oh, how did you hear about us? Oh, we saw your sign. So we haven't we've started our marketing campaign, and we've had new residents go out once, and we've had our direct mail go out once, and we haven't had anyone come from those yet. So we'll hit them up again. Again, we're going to do 4 times a year. But I did have a question for everyone as you guys go around and introduce yourselves and talk about what you're doing. I have a question about your hybrid worship services. We are currently using StreamYard, and we have a banner down at the bottom that posts like the lyrics to the words. And then of course we have our band up on that. And then we are using that image from StreamYard in our church service to post the lyrics. And what happens is that because of the internet, there's always a delay. And so we are hoping not to have to do both like a PowerPoint and the banners on StreamYard. But I was wondering what people are doing and if they have another way than what we're doing. Thanks.
Don't forget to pick someone else.
I'm going to call on Jim.
I'm Jim Truscott. I'm a Mission Bell in the United Methodist Church. I'm the lay leader. I keep getting mistaken for being a pastor. Not so. I'm the Sunday school teacher. I've taken a lot of seminary classes over the years, so I get confused for being one of the pastors. Marketing, we haven't done much with that I can see. They have done the postcards in the past. I've only been with Mission Bell about 3 years now, and don't see any interest in doing that. We are doing a fall festival where we've invited the neighborhood on November 14th. And that seems to be one of the Hispanic heritage things that I attended. There was a suggestion, and I don't recall who that was from, that we needed to include more people, especially things for the children to do. And I thought that was kind of interesting. So we are, focusing on that type of thing. We always used to do a rummage sale and so forth, but we find that we just don't have the warm bodies enough to handle all that. So we're trying to focus on what we can achieve. And they're going to do hamburgers, hot dogs, this type of thing, and just snacks for the fall festival. Live streaming, we're not doing actual live streaming. We're doing recorded messages that they do both on Facebook and on Vimeo, I believe, that the pastor is recording ahead of time. But then we are trying to get back into live worship services, but we're only seeing about a 30 to 40% attendance rate in those. And we'd like to obviously get those numbers up too. But a lot of concern because we're an aging congregation that people don't, because of COVID concerns, they don't want to attend yet. Let's put it that way. So anything else? I think that just about covers it for us. Let's go with Greg next.
Thanks, Jim. I'm Greg Beal from St. Matthew in Mesa. What we have done in the past is send out postcards for our special services like Christmas Eve or Easter. We did have, I'll say, parking lot services. We are back worshiping live, but we have been live streaming our services for 8 years now. And it's one of those that on the screen, we put lyrics, we put the whole service, basically. We do not have a printed bulletin per se. We have started offering the bulletin contents on our weekly email that goes to members. Not everyone gets it, so a printed copy is available in the narthex if you choose. Offering plates are not being passed. They're at the door, so you can put in your donations as you leave or before you even sit down if you want. I believe, I'm not familiar with the software, but we have a crew of about, well, several crews of about 3 people that work in the sound room. So they take care of the microphones, they take care of the screens. One thing we have started doing since we've been back live in person is putting announcements up on the screen. Hopefully people are reading them, I don't know. But I think a lot of people take the screen for granted, so to speak, that we still have several who have not been attending because of COVID. They are sort of leery of coming into a group setting. We do try to maintain social distancing when we are meeting. Attendance is about the same as we had before, but of course there's those who stay away. The choir does group together in the choir loft. As far as reaching out to the community, I think we're relying on word of mouth more than anything. And people know that we are meeting. They see cars in the parking lot. Hopefully that sparks some interest. As far as taking attendance, we have one lady who is at home who monitors the attendance via the chat method. I don't know how accurate that is because I know several people don't bother to sign in. We have a number, but it does, you might have 2 or 3 people watching for that one number. We don't know. I have not heard any attendance figures. We do have attendance slips in the pews that people can fill out and drop off again when they leave the service. So that's sort of one way we can monitor it. We haven't changed much since COVID, since we've been, like I said, we've live streamed for 8 years and we've got pretty good at it. We went through tape services and things like that, and the choir director put together a virtual choir, which was tremendous. He did an outstanding job with that during COVID. Since we're back worshiping in person and the choir came back the first of last month, it's nice to have the choir in the service. It's nice to see people in the service. We do mask up. We do ask people to wear masks. Out of concern for others, it's the loving thing to do. So we try to embrace that philosophy. Other than that, I think we're doing pretty well with what we've had to go through for the last 18, 19 months. So I'll pass it over to Chris.
All right, thanks. I am Chris Krager, Marketing and Communications Manager at Dayspring in Tempe. Let's see where to start. So for Christmas, we have, we're back to our usual schedule. So we do a Christmas Eve service in the evening on the 23rd, and then we have 4. We've got a 3, 5, 8, and 10 on Christmas Eve. All of those will be live streamed as well as in person. We have decided that we're not really going to actively promote services for now. So, and that includes Christmas. So, the farthest that we're going as far as advertising to the community is our outside. We have a digital sign outside, and so we'll post service times ahead of time, but we're not actively trying to bring in new people. We're a little concerned about Christmas and how many people will be attending. We've got every other pew roped off, and then between services, they're little ropes. So between services, you can flip the rope so it alternates the pews that are roped off. So that's what we're doing right now. And then, you know, of course, cleaning and everything between. We are live streaming like Greg. We've been live streaming for several years before times, before COVID. And so that hasn't changed a whole lot, although our viewership has gone up. And we also use a digital bulletin. We don't have any print bulletins right now. And the hope is that we won't go back to them because it's so much more efficient to have the digital. We do have a pew card. Our pews have been pretty much emptied. We don't have hymnals. We don't have Bibles. We don't have all the paperwork in there. But there's a pew card with a QR code that'll take you to the digital bulletin. It'll take you to a landing page that has the digital bulletin, an attendance check-in, online giving, a prayer card that you can fill out. So basically everything that used to be in paper on the back of the pews, you can access by that QR code. And I think that's all I have. Margarita.
Hi. I do a lot of things here at Crossroads UMC, including run sound and run our live stream. Last year, I wasn't at our Christmas Eve service because I actually got COVID and it really sucked. But we did it all outside. We used our Saddleback Sunday school truck to actually, and we turned it into a stage. And then had the band off to one side on platforms and the musicians off to one side on platforms, and a petting zoo. And then anytime anybody comes to our services, we have them sign a COVID covenant form. If it's outside, we check temperatures and require everyone to wear masks. Now that we are inside, we still require the covenant forms to be signed. Everybody inside the building has to wear masks. We have like hand sanitizer everywhere. And then we require everyone to sign those forms. We are currently paperless, so we don't like to hand out anything that anybody else can touch, with the exception of communion where we do individual like cups and stuff. And then I'm just trying to think right now, I think we're currently live streaming through Facebook and Zoom, and we just have those connected separately or have them streaming separately so that we don't have any interruptions. And then we just have an external mic that picks up the sound from our sanctuary sound system. We use like a recording microphone. Trying to think of what else we try to do. All of our announcements, because we don't have a bulletin right now, are running like through a loop while everybody's coming in. And then we have those announcements playing while the prelude is playing or while they're singing that. so that people are paying attention and they're also seeing those announcements. And then when we switch into opening, we switch into like our actual PowerPoint that then runs our lyrics and all of that. I think I covered everything. I don't remember.
How about marketing? What do you do to get the word out?
Marketing. If we're having an event, like we're having trunk or treat, we do major marketing through the North Central News because it's pretty cheap and it has a pretty wide audience. And then we post everything on Facebook, Instagram, and that's pretty much it. And then we have, I don't know if you guys know who Holly Paulson is. She's really, really good at what she does. And she's really good at forming volunteers to just massively write thank you cards or like handwritten cards or something small that we then take to like schools if they let us, or here give them to the preschool parents or mail them out.
Very nice. And I've got Betty's description of what they do at her church. I think Betty's at Willowbrook, yes, at Willowbrook in Sun City. And she says they're streaming to YouTube. We are using a Roland VR-4 HD for our video switching between cameras and the program OBS, which is a free software, to take the input audio information in and output to the video. I don't know what the cameras are. Hopefully Russ has that information. If everything runs smoothly, it takes 2 people to run the live stream equipment, 1 for video and 1 for audio. We don't do any video editing since we switched to live streaming. That's always nice. During COVID, we pre-recorded everything that went into a Sunday morning service. I recorded either Pastor Gary or Pastor Ruth giving a sermon, the opposite one that week saying a prayer. Oh yeah, I've noticed a lot of you guys also do like a prayer streaming, so I'd love to hear about that. Let's see, giving the sermon, the opposite that week saying a prayer, and Lori Lineberry doing the scripture reading. Rob Butler would put together a musical piece and send that to me once finished. Once I had all of that, I used iMovie to edit everything together and would then post the edited service to YouTube. Now that we're back in person, we just live stream straight to YouTube and YouTube automatically records it. Therefore, whatever happens in church goes out to people watching in real time. So there's no editing. The recording for later is simply that, a recording of the live stream that can be viewed at a later date. I'm wondering, Betty, if you use that recording for later and then publish that to Facebook or somewhere else. I'm also curious if any of you guys grab your live stream recording and then basically publish a secondary service with that same recording. That's brilliant. Okay, I have more, but don't want to overwhelm. This concentrates on the live stream, which we did not start until we began live worship gradually. We don't require masks, but have them available for people who want or need one. Sanitizer everywhere. Communion is individual sealed cups. And before COVID shutdowns, we already had a weekly e-news in place to send out reminders of current and upcoming activities. We also mailed a printed newsletter each month, and a PDF of that newsletter was emailed to people who preferred an electronic version. This newsletter, and I'm curious, if you send out the PDF, then it's just a file that people would have to download and open. So I'm answering my own question, sorry. Okay, I learned when I was allowed to come back into the office that the office manager continued to prepare and mail a very brief version of that printed newsletter, and the e-news continued with the addition of a weekly recorded devotional from the pastors and lay leader. They also added a fun element by adding a Bible puzzle each week. Oh, that's cute. We did not have live stream until we started in-person worship. As we gradually came back, we wanted to include people who could not or would not return yet. At that time, the weekly devotionals were eliminated. We recently added the weekly devotionals back for people who said they liked that midweek uplift. It is kind of nice, I've noticed that with some of the churches that stream like a prayer thing. It's, it's not Sunday worship, and it's not a full hour. In some cases, it's like a 5-minute or 15-minute thing. And some churches even do that in other languages, which is pretty cool. I was curious, why that happened. Is it in response to social distancing, COVID, not being able to get out there very much, how that's made a difference in attendance. Is it different people that do watch the prayers or what? No, Betty's got a response. She said, during COVID, it was about 10 to 15 minutes. Now it's 3 minutes. I guess the during the week devotional, right, Betty? Yep. Okay. So, is anyone doing anything on TikTok or Snapchat?
I wish I had more time. I started looking into TikTok, but it just doesn't come natural for me right now. And so it would take me a lot of time to research, and plan and develop what I want to do for that for a 1 minute or less video. I haven't seen a lot of really fantastic examples. There are some out there who do like a quick prayer or a quick devotional that's like 1 minute long. I just haven't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I always felt like, what's the best way to go with something like that? Is it create like a temporary profile that like, that's not going to be my official. It's just what I'm testing out with, and maybe just have friends or family follow that one to test and provide feedback and then start your official? Or is it better to kind of build in that authenticity? Like, hey guys, this is new to me too. I'm going to test this out, and hopefully, if you like it, tell your friends, follow me too. I'm going to be learning. It's going to be different, and that would kind of also help with that. What content do I start out with? Because the first one could be, okay, today I'm just going to try figuring out the timing, or the next time I'm going to try adding in music, or the next time I'm going to try to see what's a church spin on the most popular TikTok that I've been seeing, whatever. Like, I don't know which one's better. I'd love to hear if you guys ever decide to try it out, how it worked out for you. I have seen some TikToks. I haven't looked up any United Methodists doing it, but in a recent newsletter from another denomination, they were sharing how some of their pastors were using TikTok. I don't remember what the reason was. The whole thing of it that I paid attention to was, what? They're on TikTok? Oh my gosh, let's check this out. So I looked up those pastors, and yeah, it was the one in particular that I found myself just watching. I don't think he ever did any prayers in there. He didn't do anything like what you expect your pastor to be doing. There's videos of him rollerblading with his kids, like during golden hour. There was a video of him sharing the things that he gets nervous about wearing. And so it was like what he would wear for your wedding. He jumps and he's wearing that. What I wear for Pentecost, jumps and he's wearing that. What I wear, he said what I would wear for hot pre-summer. He jumps and he's wearing like just a suit or something. I don't know. It just weird stuff that I felt like that could answer not the question, the problem, I guess, of, I know as a layperson, we often think of our pastors as like, well, they're not people. They're pastors. Like, they're up here. They wouldn't understand my problems. They don't I'm not going to bother them with blah, blah, blah. And so that kind of makes them so much more relatable, so much more like, I'm interested in hearing what this person has to say. I can relate with that part, or I was there when that happened, or whatever. So it just seemed like, that's a good, because at first I was kind of talking myself out of the whole idea of like, churches can't be on TikTok. How are we going to make religion funny? That's just not, but no, everybody can be everywhere, right? There was another one. How about podcasts? Anybody doing podcasts? Oh, Betty's got more. Betty says, our 3-minute devotional is also posted on YouTube along with our live stream. The church where I worship, the senior pastor is on Twitter, the youth pastor is on TikTok. Oh, cool. Most of our pastors are on Instagram, and most of what they post is family stuff and vacations. Very cool. That's nice. podcasts. Misty, were you going to say something?
I was. So we do a daily prayer, and thank you, Christina, for sharing that with our conference. It came out of, people not feeling connected during the pandemic and wanting to see one another. We had some volunteers who would submit some prayers and we would post them, and people and volunteering is kind of dropped off from that. And so I'm about ready to switch things up and discontinue daily prayer at noon and start doing something not like kind of like a podcast, I guess, but maybe a weekly where I interview someone from our community and I ask them how faith has an impact on their life. We have a local coffee shop here, and they have a picture of all I need is Jesus and coffee, in the morning. And so to talk to them about like, well, what does that mean to you? And, how does that affect your daily life? And how does your faith affect your daily life, kind of thing. And talking to some of our congregation members and interviewing them like, oh, well, how do you take church outside of church and, put it into your daily life? So I'm developing that right now to hopefully do, and then I'll post it on our page, on our Facebook page here soon.
Nice. When you put that together, Misty, would you be willing to share your notes, like your schedule, your content plans, even if it's not what actually happened? And even better, if you could include a note like, did we actually do this, or how did it turn out? That'd be awesome. I know with the postcard mailings, I mean, talking back about marketing, getting the word out, for a while there, what was actually making a difference was when we were hand delivering the postcards in the neighborhood. And I mean, like we did it in my neighborhood, which I figured, hey, if I'm driving to my church, they could be driving there too. And my mother-in-law lives like 3 blocks from us. She drives even further to get to her church. So it wasn't the immediate zip code, but it felt to me like it made more sense for me as a church member to pass around postcards in my neighborhood, because then I could relate to them like, yeah, I just live 2 streets over, or, and I try to bring my kids, or, a couple years, my daughter had a couple friends spending the night. So it's like, tomorrow morning, guys, girls, we're going to walk around and here's what we're going to do. And so we did that, and it was kind of nice because then I could even show like, yeah, see, this one's my daughter, she'll be with us, and this other good friend, sometimes she comes too, and they'll be at Sunday school and whatever. So it's kind of a nice way to say like, and when you get there, say hi to me because I'll be there. I'll say hi, we can sit together or whatever. It was kind of nice because then I also got to know my neighbors a little bit more. But with COVID, I could see where that would be scary. Although I am still getting door-to-door telemarketers about internet service. And it actually was a go. We tried them a few times, and the last time was great service. So I think, but I just saw the recording from last week and I was cutting out apparently. So maybe my service isn't that great. Anyway, but I had a point to that one about the marketing. Yes. So with the podcasts and all that, or postcards or whatever, I mean, you could essentially be doing the same thing. We started out talking about the different audiences and different types of messages. So many moons ago, when we were trying to get back when we were young parents, we were trying to get some small groups going at our church. And I think I shared with you guys that our church is an older congregation. We were like the one young family. I know sometimes we had another young family that were longtime members. But on our church campus, we had a preschool where I knew a lot of the parents there. My kids were besties with a lot of their kids, and yet we didn't go to the same church. And I knew many of them didn't have a church. Or maybe they went to the neighborhood church, but really that's just not, it doesn't speak to us, so we don't go there all the time. So one way to get them connected to our church was through the small groups. And what I discovered is we ended up having to invite people to get to the small groups besides talking to people about it. And honestly, any of the one-on-one invitations, other than one couple, I don't think anybody showed up because I invited them personally, although that is an effective method. It turned out, I'm most excited about the people that came out because they didn't never knew us, but the communication spoke to them. What we did is, you know, you hear that thing about you got to tell them and tell them again and then tell them again what you told them and da da da. The difference is that we were, in our messaging that time, we were thinking about the mom sometimes, and we were thinking about the dad sometimes, and what are their common struggles. So despite whatever the topic was, sometimes the communication was all, you know, as if I'm talking to one of my girlfriends, one of my mom friends. And so we would spin it on that level of what's relatable. And then sometimes we'd publish the same event, but now as if we're talking to the husband or the dad, because it wasn't always about a marriage thing. Sometimes it was parenting. And so what are some things that a dad might relate to, and what are his concerns and struggles, and you know, what's going to make him want to go, and what are the obstacles that are keeping him from going? So we changed the wording to kind of answer those concerns and hopes. And you know, we did that maybe like 4 or 5 times, and we ended up having, at each of these groups, we ended up having like 10 to 12 total people, so 5 or 6 couples, which was perfect for our small group. One year we did Financial Peace University, and that one was bigger, and there were people there that weren't even part of our preschool, because maybe someone at the preschool was like, oh, you've got to come, this sounds really cool or whatever. And so people that weren't even part of the campus showed up because of the communications and then the word of mouth. So just a reminder that as we're reaching out for our upcoming services or telling people about the way that they can connect, it might not be in person. And I'd say, you know, share that, you know, out of concern for our community, we're not opening it up beyond what we can handle. Our maximum occupancy is this much, and with our regular attendees, we're already at whatever. But here's another way that, you know, you can invite your friends, your neighbors, or whatever, or you can have your own little worship service. Watch the live stream. You know, if you want to do that, we can send you maybe whatever you can in advance. Because I know I guess the point is, put yourself in those people's minds. What's going to keep them from doing it? What's going to make it easier for them to host something like that? I know for me, I am a huge, I like to schedule things out. I want to have everything planned. I don't want to have any surprises. It's not that I need to be the know-it-all. I just want to be, I need to be prepared. So for me, the easiest way for me to invite my family or have a little worship service at home watching the live stream would be to have the stuff in advance, or to be able to tell my family and convince them, like, yeah, the topic's going to be blah, blah, blah. We're going to go, the scripture's going to be da, da, da. And that gives me an opportunity to think about how I can relate it to their life or their situation to get them excited about participating. So, I mean, that's an idea for how to, you know, open it up to more people, even though you're not going to have more people at your place. And maybe that's an idea to think about for other stuff that you're live streaming, whether it's a weekly devotional or the podcast. I don't know that I get a whole lot of responses when I ask for ideas, but I feel, I mean, for me, it kind of sometimes opens up my own ideas. And occasionally, even if it's just 1 or 2 people that responded, I always feel like, you know, if they sent that to me, there's got to be somebody else that's thinking that too. And even if it's just that one person, at least I'm responding to that one person. I'm going to strike that nerve, and hopefully that'll give an impact, and that person might share with somebody else, like, oh yeah, and this helped me, da da da. So just remember your audience. Try different methods. Even in the same household, there's different audiences, different things that they're struggling with, different things that, you know, we all want the best in life. We want to be better, do more, and we all have those same restrictions. There's only so much time in the day, so much energy, and, you know, to have to be in front of another screen, or to have to deal with the anxiety of who has COVID around me if I'm going to go in person. So what are the things that we can share with them to make it easier for them to come, to participate? What are some other ways? You know, if in person isn't going to work, what's something else that we can do? All right. Any other thoughts from you guys? Something else to share or question? All right. Well, as you come up with stuff for getting the word out, if you're going to try something different this year for your worship services, for your small groups, for whatever, you know, send me an email, share it during Tuesday Talk, whatever, what's different, because that might give somebody else a really good idea of what to try. And hopefully we are at the point now where we can try something new and not be afraid to fail gloriously. But we learned something, so we're going to tweak it and try this way now. You know, hopefully that's the case. But thank you all for joining me for another Tuesday Talk. Today is October 19th, 10:41. We finished 20 minutes early.